What happened to every character that was killed off in The Rookie? In this video, I'll be going over each character, how they died, and in some cases, I'll explain why they were killed off. First, we're going to start with Captain Anderson, the first death of an important character in the series that took place all the way back in Season 1. From the very beginning of the show in the pilot episode, Captain Anderson was a very important person in the show, as she was really the only person up the chain in command that believed in Officer Nolan and thought that he could succeed despite his age. She was in practically every episode from the pilot up to her death, so she could definitely be considered a main character of the show. Fans got attached to her, which made her death all the more tragic. Her death was in Season 1, Episode 16, Greenlight. During the episode, Anderson was riding with Nolan due to being greenlit by the Southern Front. He got greenlit because while on patrol, he was arresting a woman for assault and accidentally ripped her dress. This made her angry and she went to her baby daddy Cole Midas, who is the son of the leader of the Southern Front, and the greenlight was sent out. While out on patrol, they took a burglary call where Midas and his crew were waiting to ambush them. And even though Cole should have understood the risk he was taking by wanting to kill the captain of the LAPD, he still took the chance to kill her anyways. He starts by kicking her into the pool tied to a chair, leaving her to drown. But she breaks out of this and starts fighting back alongside Nolan. One by one, they take out his men, and as Midas is running away, he shoots Anderson, and she dies in the pool. At the end of it all, the LAPD did as Anderson warned him of and went after Midas, where he was promptly arrested and she was ceremoniously taken away. This scene was one of the saddest moments in the entire show, and it's crazy how the show killed off someone so early and so brutally. Another character who had an unexpected kill off was Nick Armstrong, one of the most important characters throughout seasons 2 and 3 who turned to the dark side. In the beginning, when he first started appearing, we find out a lot about Armstrong that made everybody believe that he was a very complicated guy. He lost his wife to cancer 5 years before we met him, and afterwards he started picking up night work in order to distract himself. Due to this, he rose up the ranks very quickly and made detective in only 4 years. All of this coupled with the fact that he spent most of his time on the Rosalind Dyer case, more time than on his wife before she passed away. This made him feel guilty, so he knew he had to finish what he started or it would all be a waste. Armstrong and Nolan bonded a lot in the beginning due to their eagerness and their closeness in age, as well as Armstrong was kidnapped by Rosalind Dyer's puppet killer Caleb before being saved by the LAPD. So all of this would make you believe that he's a pretty good cop, right? Right? It's revealed at the end of Season 2 that Armstrong is dirty, as he is giving LAPD secrets to a gang and he even kills another officer to keep it on the down low. Unfortunately for him, Nolan found out about this, and when confronted by him, Armstrong tells Nolan his entire plan to frame him to keep him quiet. Initially, this works, as Nolan finds the planted evidence and is forced to surrender himself to play things by the book. To save his name, Nolan makes a very ballsy move to ask to go to the gang that Armstrong was working with while wired up to obtain the truth. And they agree. Nolan confronts the gang and Armstrong in this episode, and Armstrong tries to kill Nolan, but the gun isn't loaded, so this fails. Nolan makes a run for it, and while the gang goes after him, they end up accidentally shooting Armstrong, letting him bleed out on the scene. This was a very crazy death to see, as the show turned a beloved character into a horrible monster, and now his reign was put to an end. However, the death of Jackson West did not have the same impact or audience reception. Jackson West's death was very controversial, as it stems primarily from issues behind the scenes with the actor in the show. His character initially wasn't supposed to die at all, actually. During the 3rd season of the show, Titus Mackin Jr. wanted to quit the show, but the showrunners wanted him to stay. They came to an agreement where the 3rd season would focus on racial discrimination, and because of this, Titus agreed to stay for future seasons. However, this turned out not to be the case, as after the 3rd season was complete and they were writing the 4th one, Titus informed them that he was not returning to the show. He wouldn't do another episode to send off his character, and he wouldn't even do a few scenes to properly kill him off, so instead, the show had to bring in a double for his death. In Season 4, Episode 1, Life and Death, the audience got one 10-second scene of the crew watching camera footage where the Jackson double got shot in the back. There was no build-up, there was no closure, and there was no more footage of Jackson after this. This made the audience feel conflicted about his death. On one hand, he was a major character of the show for the first 3 seasons, so him being dead should be a huge deal. On the other hand though, since his death was so anticlimactic, nobody really had the gut reaction that should have happened for a main character's death. In the end, Jackson was swiftly brushed off after this episode, as his story was abruptly slammed shut. But this wasn't the only impactful death of a character that took place in this episode, as the death of Sandre De La Cruz, aka La Fiera, also took place in Season 4's Life or Death as well. La Fiera was one of the most interesting villains to come out of the 3rd season, as she was a very vicious woman who wasn't above committing very heinous crimes, but she also had an unlikely friendship with Detective Lopez due to their shared motherhood. Sandra even gave Lopez a gift for her unborn child as a way to send good luck the child's way. This made Lopez very conflicted, as she does have to work on this case to get her locked up since it's her job, but she also sees a passionate mother who would do anything in the name of a child's safety and success. This all changed when her son Diego was shot down by the son of a competing cartel leader, and she went on a rampage. During said rampage, she kidnaps Lopez and takes her to Guatemala, where she keeps Lopez hostage in hopes to steal her baby and then kill her afterwards. Luckily for Lopez, she has a husband who would do literally anything to get her back, including giving up his legal practice to Elijah Stone in return for his service in finding where she is. Wesley, alongside with the LAPD, head to Guatemala to save her, and during the chase between them and La Fiera, Lopez shoots backwards at her and lands multiple shots, killing Sandra. The LAPD are on a time crunch to get out of Guatemala though, so instead of taking care of her body, they leave her corpse to lean against a metal fence, as if she meant nothing. This was one of the most action-packed deaths in the show, as there was a real chance that it could have been Lopez or Wesley dying that day, but Sandra De La Cruz ended up being the one to rest in peace instead. Even though she was a very vicious villain who got her just desserts, another villain was killed in a very different manner, and her death wasn't supposed to happen at all. Rosalind Dyer was killed due to real-life circumstances that couldn't have been avoided. Rosalind had a long run with the LAPD, starting all the way back in Season 2 and went on until Season 5, Episode 4, The Choice. She knew she wasn't going to be free for much longer after her escape, as everyone in the city was looking for her. So she devised the most evil exit plan that someone could come up with. She had one of her puppets create a contraption that would slowly kill somebody, and she had a plan on how to use this. She led Bailey Noon and LAFD to the abandoned house where this contraption was, and Bailey fell into the trap, leaving her in a state of slow and inevitable death. When Nolan and the LAPD find her, Rosalind gives Nolan a ring, telling him to ditch everything he has and get into a car she left for him. She leads him in the car to a fancy hillside estate where she has dinner for him. And this is where she gives her ultimatum. She says that Nolan must take the gun she gives him, and he can either shoot Rosalind right then and there to stop the contraption from killing Bailey, or he can sit and watch Bailey die. Nolan surprisingly didn't shoot her and instead arrests her. But as they go outside to his shop, Rosalind is sniped and killed. This was part of her plan in case it went awry. She would have died either way. This plotline wasn't always in the plan though. Behind the scenes, Anna Wershing was battling cancer, and it was getting much worse. Andy anticipated that there wasn't much longer left in her battle, so they created this storyline to give her character a proper ending. Annie passed away after a long 3-year battle, and the episode was dedicated to her in her memory. May she rest in peace. While Rosalind Dyer got killed off due to a real-life circumstance, Jason Wiler was killed off to put an end to a multiple season-long arc that terrorized Bailey Noon and John Nolan. Jason was introduced as Bailey's husband in Season 4. I say husband because despite Bailey desperately wanting a divorce, Jason would never give her one. We are introduced to him as he is released from a 2-year prison sentence, and he's back to attempt reconciliation. After Bailey says no, Jason decides to give her hell. He decides it's a great idea to plant coke in her car to get her arrested, which fails. Then he's forced to turn himself in, and we don't hear from him for a while. This is until Oscar Hutchinson comes in to ring Jason into his escape plan. Jason isn't initially interested until he learns about Bailey and John's wedding, and he is furious. After his escape, Jason goes right for revenge, attempting to kill Bailey, first by hitting her with his car and then kidnapping her to kill and dispose of her. His plan, once again, ultimately fails because Bailey fights back and crashes the car they're in. Jason then tries to escape, but John and Selena catch up to him, and they tell him to step out since he has nowhere else to go. Jason complies, but as he steps out, he is sniped and killed, putting an end to his terror. We'll never hear from Jason again, and Bailey and John can live peacefully with that fact. But who is the person that ended Jason for good? It was the next person on our list, Malvado, a hitman who was hired by the Southern Front to take care of Jason. But little did Malvado know, but his reign wasn't going to last much longer either. His main purpose in the show was to kill Jason, and that was really it. But we saw a resurgence of Malvado in the season 7 episode Mad About Murder, where he was hired as a hitman to take out another hitman that a client hired on an assassin service that started to garner too much attention. Malvado was just there to tie up all of the loose ends and make sure things were taken care of. After the LAPD started investigating into the murders of these hitmen, they figured out that it was Malvado through some footage that they found. Malvado's next target was Mitch Yancey, a very rich client who used the service many times in the past. However, the LAPD knew about this and arrested Mitch before Malvado could kill him. Meanwhile, John and Tim went up to arrest Malvado as well, but he made a run for it. This chase went on for a long while, and after Malvado neutralizes John and Tim, he thinks he's won. But Angela comes in and tells him to surrender now or it would end badly. Malvado decides to take a shot at Angela with a hidden gun that he had, but Angela shoots first and ends Malvado's life, killing off another character in the show and making Malvado the most recent important character to get killed off in the show. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you want more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.